what we're doing today is we're making a little storefront craft, and it's a refrigerator magnet. So you'll be able to use it, put it on your refrigerator, and then you can play with it over and over again. The pieces, most of the pieces are actually Velcro, so you can move them around whenever you like. And so that's what we're making today. The reason why I thought of this craft is because of the importance of small businesses, especially during COVID, when there's, it's very hard for small businesses, which we'll talk about a little bit later. It's very important to help support our small businesses. So I thought of this craft as a way to help children and adults that accompany them to really understand the importance of small businesses, and for them to come up with their own inner entrepreneurial spirit and come up with their own idea for a store that they'd want, and a name for it and what it might look like. So as we're going along, I'd encourage any of the kids out there to think about what is a store that they would want, what would they like to sell, and what would they like their store to look like, and also what would the name of their store be. So you can see on my craft here that I'm going to have a pet store. And so I just wanted a big old sign that said pets. So you'll be able to put your name on top and then kind of decorate what your store is going to be like. And this is a little cluttered. So you'll be able to say, okay, I only want one window. I want two windows. I don't want bows. I do want the curtain, and so forth. So we'll get started right now. As we go along, you can put any questions in the chat. Tyler will help us to navigate those, especially if you have any questions, if we're going too fast, if you have any questions about what we were supposed to be doing, just let me know in the chat, and Tyler will facilitate me answering those questions for you. So I'm going to start off by showing you. So here is, like I said, our craft. But we're going to start by picking so you're going to open your kit. There's a lot of stuff in that kit. It's in coded envelopes, okay, color-coded envelopes. The first thing you want to get is your square. So some of you will have a rectangle, actually. Some of you will have a yellow rectangle. Some of you will have a blue one. So it's day or night, depending on which one you have. So this is your background for your craft. Notice one side of it is a little bit shinier than the other side. So one side will be a little bit shiny. You don't want to use that side. Make sure you use the other side, the one that's more flat and has the color on it. So you're going to take that first. Then what you're going to do is you're going to have this envelope that is color coded with green. So you want to right now take the green envelope, the green packet, and that's the one you're going to open. So you can go ahead and take a minute to open that. And then we will get started on our first part of this craft. Take out those pieces, set that envelope aside. So you're going to have this foam square, which is a self-stick square. You're going to have a glue stick. You will have a black or a white Velcro strip, just the fuzzy side of the Velcro strip. And you're going to just pick one of these. This is going to be your door. So you'll pick whether you want a black door or a white door, okay? And then you'll have two magnets. Now we're going to be doing a lot of removing stickers. And so if you're particularly young, you may need I'd say 3 or 4, you may need some help removing the stickers. Some of these will be harder than others, some will be easier. And so what a grown-up can do if they're helping a younger child is they can peel it off a little bit and then have the child pull the rest of it, okay? But for the rest of it, you should be able to pull these off fairly easily. So first, you're going to peel the sticker, the big square that you have, some version of a brown square, and you're going to decide whether you want that to be more of a rectangle, vertical, or horizontal on your page. You can have it on the side, either side. You can have it right in the middle. You can have it high. You can have it to the side, either way, okay? So I'm going to put mine right in the middle, and I'm going to make mine horizontal. Now, if any of the pieces, the way you put them, or maybe they come out uneven initially, you can always trim it after the craft's over. You can make it more tidy. So that's your building, okay? So you're then going to pick your door. Pick one of those, whichever one you like. You're going to pick your door. and I'm going to pick a black door. I have a white one on my other craft. I'm going to pick a black one. Again, it's a sticker, so we're just going to put the sticker on it. In my case, I'm going to put this door right in the middle, and there's my door of my storefront. Once you're done with that, what you're going to do next is you're going to take your magnets that you have, peel them, and then you're going to put them on either side of the back of what you just made. So if that's your front, then you're going to put them on the back so that it will end up looking like this. You want them kind of close to the side, but it does not have to be all the way to the end, and you'd like them to be even. Now, I hope as you're thinking about all of this, you're starting to think, what am I selling in my store? What am I selling in my store? And what do I want the name of it to be? So this is your storefront. So we finished the first part of this craft. I'll tell you that the next kit we're going to be grabbing is going to be the one that has the brown dot on the back of it. But in the meantime, I'm wondering if John wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about small businesses.
Well, thank you, Stacy, and good morning to everyone. So one of the reasons we're focused on small businesses is because over the last 100 years, there's been a shift from small businesses to large businesses. In fact, this is a story of their numbers going down and why that matters. So before anything else, let's talk about why small businesses matter. To begin, they're critical to the health of the economy, and they're a huge driver of innovation. We'll talk about some of the big companies that exist today that started to small innovative starts years ago. They also create about 64% of the new jobs created each year. That's about 1.5 million jobs created every year. Think about how many moms, dads, aunts, uncles would all be without a job if it wasn't for all those jobs created. So why are they on the decline? Well, that's a longer story. And it's really been a shift over the last couple of centuries to mass producing items. It's hard to put an exact start on when that began, but I think one of the big first changes was around 1440, when the printing press was created. Before that, if you wanted a book, somebody had to handwrite that book. The printing press allowed you to put ink on a block and press that onto a page, producing a page all in one movement. And that really allowed books to be created much faster. And it was really that first shift to mass production in big businesses, but it was far from the last. We'll talk about some more of the other changes that happened later. But right now, this craft looks like a lot of fun. So let's get back to that.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that insight about the printing press and the effect it had on small businesses. We're going to take a moment now. We're going to open up that next brown envelope that I had mentioned, the one with the envelope's not brown, but plastic, and the brown sticker on it. So that's what you're going to do next. And please take out all of those pieces. They're small, so you want them in front of you on your table. And you're going to keep that glue stick handy while we work on this part, okay? So very exciting. Honestly, this is my favorite part. I think these pieces are super cool. We have our windows, and these are real wood windows, so be careful. They can break. If you have very small kids, you'll want to watch out. Some of these pieces, we're dealing with glue, we're dealing with wood, we're dealing with plastic that has some sharp corners. So if you have a very, very young child, just be very careful with their use of these materials. And also once it's completed, where you put it and whether the child has access to it easily or not. You know, if they're young, make sure you are only letting them use it with your supervision. But we're going to work on these windows right now. And so very simple enough, you're going to take your glue, open it up, and you're going to glue the outline of that window. Now, you don't really have to worry if the glue's a big mess. I know if some of you might have a purple glue, the glue is going to dry clear, so you don't have to worry about that. You can do it right on your table. It's non-toxic. It's easy. It should be pretty easy to remove if you move it rather quickly after the event, or if you have a paper towel with you. I'm assuming that nobody on this right now based on who I knew was in the audience today, we've sent everybody kits, but if there is somebody on this program right now who does not have a kit and needs instructions for how to do this craft with paper, please put please indicate that in the chat, and we will make sure that we give you some instructions on how to do this craft with paper. So right now, though, we're going to glue the back of these frames, and then you're going to put them wherever you want your windows. You do want to leave room on top because you're going to put a sign there. Okay, so you don't want your windows being too high because we have to put your sign. So you can put them as low as you want. And again, you can only put one if you don't only want one, but you don't want them too high. So make sure you leave a space about 1 inch on top. If you were to do this craft, so you're going to go ahead and do that with the other window as well. If you were to do this craft without the kit that we sent home to you, what you're going to want to do is just use cardboard, paper, scissor, tape, glue, basic materials, crayons, basic materials you have at home. So once you've glued those two pieces, you're going to put them on. Again, you don't have to do both. If you only want to do one, that's fine, but you can do it that way. If you're doing this without these materials, what you would do is you would take a cardboard back, okay, any color. You can actually color the background blue if you want, color the background yellow. It's ideal if you have a white cardboard because then the color shows through more. You would take another piece, you would take a piece of paper to make this rectangle. That's the front of your store. And you could then take other pieces of paper and just cut them into the shape of the window. You wouldn't even need to cut out the middle. You can just cut it into a square nice and easily. Same thing with the drawer. That's just a simple rectangle. So if you're doing it with paper, it's just a matter of cutting out the pieces. You may be wondering about the magnets, but don't worry too much about that because ultimately you can just have a magnet clip that you probably already have for your refrigerator and clip this on so that you can keep it on your refrigerator anytime you want. You can take it down to use it. Or you can just use it as a playset as is without the magnets. So don't worry too much if you don't have the separate magnets at home. Otherwise, if you wanted to, you can always buy them in a hardware store or craft supply store. So we have our windows up. We're going to take that glue again, and inside your packet, you can hardly see it. Let's see if I can get it a little close up. There you go. So you could see we have a little plastic sheet, and that's going to make this really look like a window because it does, right? It looks like some glass. What you're going to do is similar to what you just did on the wood window frame is you're going to make an outline of that frame on your plastic piece. That is one way you can do it. However, there is a slightly easier way if you wanted to. You could just glue the front of the window. Okay, so there's two ways to do that. You can just glue the front of the window, the outline of it. Okay, or you can glue the outline of the plastic piece. Once the plastic piece is glued, you just put it on it. Or if you glued the frame, you still put the plastic piece on top like this. So there you go. And you can see it's already starting to look like a window. Again, this is my absolute favorite part of this craft is the window. I think that's super cool. But we're not done yet. And just to check, we're going to let you know about how to do this with paper if you need to, and other materials. Now I have curtains here that I've provided. Everybody's got different colors. You may like the color, you may not. So feel free. You may want windows on, curtains on your storefront. You may not, that's fine. But either way, if you were going to do the curtains, you're going to once again glue the outline of that window frame. So right on top of the plastic. Okay, so I'll show you here. You're just going to glue the outline of the window frame. Again, don't worry if it gets a little bit messy because it's going to dry clear anyway. And then you're going to go ahead and place your curtain right on top and do that for both. Okay, there you go. Okay, now if you don't have the materials, what you would do is, and frankly, I used to do this as a kid, is you would take some paper towels, especially because there's a lot of paper towels that have cool patterns like flowers or stripes. So you can take paper towels and actually do the same thing with paper towels. Just make a bit of cut out a curtain shape and you can do the exact same thing. Lastly, on this part of our craft, before we learn more about what we want to talk about in terms of small businesses and what small businesses are, before we do that, I want to just have you take the sticker off the back of the bows. So let me give you a close up there. I'm going to take the sticker off the back of the bow, and then you'll put the bow, you can put the bow on the curtain. Okay, and you're going to repeat that 3 more times with the other 4 bows. Having said that, you don't need to have curtains if you don't want to. You don't need to have the bows if you don't want to. And you could place the bows anywhere you want, but this seemed a reasonable place. Later on, we'll have a car, we'll have a garden, so you can hold off on the bows. Maybe you want to use them in a different place. You don't even have to put them on now. So while you're working on that and you're adding your 3 other bows, and I'll do that as well, I'm going to tell you a bit about, and I see there's somebody in the waiting room. So if, John, if you can admit them. So we're going to see that this bow has a, well, I peeled off the back. So I'm going to go ahead and put that bow on there. While I'm talking to that about, while I'm telling you about that, I want to also tell you what counts as a small business. So a small business is typically viewed as any business that's under 50 employees. And you get a sense of ownership when you own a small business. And you might be feeling that right now as you're doing this craft. You might be saying, yeah, this is my storefront. I get to design this any way I want. I get to design what my storefront looks like, which is kind of cool, right? You get to do it. You have that sense of ownership that if you're an employee somewhere, you may not have as strongly. So while you're doing that, think about maybe you've seen small business owners, not only in your community, but maybe even in the shows you watch. So one of my favorites is the movie Coco. And in that movie, the parents own their own shoe business. It's an integral part of what that movie is about. So here you get this opportunity to have your own small business as well. For those of you who are just joining us, we're on our 2nd packet out of the 4 packets that you had. So what I would say is, for those of you just joining us, go ahead and take out in the packet that has the green label on it, take out this rectangular piece. That's all you really need right now for where we're at, okay? And I'm going to hold this up and just mention to you also, so you're taking out the rectangular piece, and then you're going to take out the 2nd packet, okay, which was the brown one. And then you'll put these other pieces on there using your glue stick, okay? While you get a sense of that, John is going to tell us a little bit more about small business.
Thank you, Stacy. So in the last little bit, I was talking about the printing press and how that started to shift to big businesses. And it really wasn't the only thing. In fact, it was just the beginning. Other innovations followed, and it really expanded that shift to large businesses and large scale production. The next big one in my mind was the Industrial Revolution, and that began in the 1760s. And that involved a lot of different changes. A few of them that I think are really exciting were part standardization. Every part created was identical to the others. Again, if you used to have, something created, every part was made custom to that part. If it broke, somebody would make that piece specific to whatever broke. Part standardization allowed any part to be replaced with any other part in that same machine. It also involved machines entering the workforce. And all these changes helped increase the speed of productions of goods. Another major change was the assembly line. Ford is a great example of a company that used the assembly line to mass produce something. Back in 1913, they started mass producing cars. It's hard to imagine, but 100 years ago, the cars were only available to the very rich people. Ford changed that by mass producing them and made it possible for the average family to own a car for the first time. Now, there was certainly more, but you probably notice a theme here. Each of these were a change that took the idea of standardization and increased production speeds to new levels. I'd like to take a moment to be clear. The shift to big businesses wasn't all bad. In fact, the shift brought many great benefits to society, but it also had some negative impacts on small businesses. The reason we're talking about this today is to try to find a balance between the two. Stacy, can we continue the craft?
Absolutely. And I want to make sure everybody's kind of up to the same place that we're in right now. So I'm going to highlight the craft right here. You can see, okay? Those of you who came in a little later, what you're going to do is you're just going to take out this brown square from your first packet. That's the only thing you need to concentrate on right now. And you're going to take out, so the first packet was the green, it had the green dot. So that was the one with the green dot. You just need that square or that rectangular piece. And then you're going to take out all of the materials that are in this one, which is the brown packet. And you're going to use your glue stick to glue on first the window piece, which I will take off to show you. The glue does set pretty fast. So you're going to take your window piece and glue that. You're going to put that on to your rectangle. You're then going to take the plastic square piece, glue that to your window. You can see the reflection. I have that plastic piece on there. Then you're going to take the curtain, glue that to the plastic piece, just like you'd see it in a window. And then you're going to, if you want, put on the bows. Okay, so that's where we are for those trying to catch up. And you will get a recording of this after the event. So don't worry too much if you're a little bit behind, but hopefully you'll be able to catch up. So here we go. So we're at that portion of the craft, which is, I hope we're all together at that. If you have any questions about anything, if anything's complicated, let me know. And you've got your door. Now this piece also is just, you had a choice between a black and a white door. So you've got your black door there. I mentioned that if you're doing this without our little kit that we sent home, then you can use paper towels for the curtains. You can just use string, ribbon, anything you have lying around the house to make your own bows on it, or you can do it without the bows. Next thing we're going to do, and this is the exciting part, folks, because this is where you have to come up with your name for your business, okay? So I hope you've been thinking about a name for your business. Does anybody want to share what their name for their business might be? You can do it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and let me know. Nobody wants to share their business? Oh.
Town's business.
Town's business.
That's fantastic. I love it. Great. So you're going to get a chance to put that right on your sign. And that's what we're working on right now. Okay. So we're going to work on the sign. Now to do that, I need you to find your little packet that has this symbol on it. That's the one we're going to be working on right now. And then you're going to be able to make your sign. Okay. So grab that, you're going to empty everything out of it. And that's what I've done here. I've got all my little pieces. I've got some grass. I've got a foam white strip that's self-stick. And I've got a few other kind of random elongated pieces. And you're not going to use all of those because there's not that much room on this kit. But you're going to pick what you want, if anything, as the background for your sign. Okay. So for your business, let's say you want this. And that's where it would go on your storefront, because signs need to be very, very visible. You want that sign right up front so everybody can see it. So please take a minute, pick your piece, okay? And decide, what do you want for the top of your storefront? Now, if you want, you can just leave it like this. You can also take the white piece and just put it there, or there's a few combinations you can pick. You can take this piece and then put the white piece on top, okay? Keep in mind, all of these are stickers. Depending on your age, you may need a little more help. Some of these are easier than others to do, but you're going to peel it off and you're just going to stick it right on it, okay? So now what I want to do on this storefront, what I went ahead and did is I did this piece, which we have there. But I think today I'm in a brown and polka dot mood. So I'm going to make this my storefront today. And again, if the piece is too big, too small, you can always trim it after the craft. I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about trimming it now. So there you go. But because this is going to be a little bit hard to see from my letters, I'm also going to put my white piece on top of it. Okay. Now, the other thing you received in your kit, and this was not one in one of the small packages, but you received it in the kit, in the bigger envelope, is a sheet with letters. And there was a few different kinds of letters you might have gotten. So some of you might have gotten these types of letters, and some of you might have gotten letters like these. Either one, whichever you ended up getting, because I know some of you weren't able to make our event when we did this 2 weeks ago. So you might have the kit with the letters from 2 weeks ago. So here you're going to pick out the letters that you want. Okay. And you're going to go ahead and make your sign. So you can see, you can start putting the letters there. The thing I want to mention is that if you could just do it on the polka dot or the piece itself. So you have, this is your opportunity to be creative in how you want your sign to look. Okay, so take a minute to do that. And while we're taking a minute to do that, I want to just mention, something about small businesses. Now, John's been telling us about, some of the threats to small businesses and how mass productions of items made it possible for big businesses to get started. And what ended up happening with these kind of huge businesses that could mass produce things is that they were able to sell things for less money. And so when they were able to sell things for less money, it hurt small businesses because they didn't have that same capability. They didn't have lots of different franchises or other storefronts where they can say, we're going to make 1 million of these products and send it out to all of our stores. Instead, they just have their one mom and pop shop. And so, and mom and pop is a term that's often used for describing a small business. So they had their mom and pop shop, and they couldn't afford to buy in bulk like larger businesses could and mass produce items. So what sometimes would happen is larger businesses would then create a monopoly. They'd corner the market on that product because they can sell it so inexpensively, and they'd essentially put the small businesses out of business, which is very hard. Obviously, you've worked very hard to have your business, to create your storefront, and then lo and behold, a big business comes over and you can't compete with them. You can't sell products for the same price. And so you have your storefront, and then you may have to close it. One term we use to describe that when a large company takes over an industry like that is a monopoly. And Rockefeller is someone, he founded a company called Standard Oil Company, and he was able to really just buy up all the land that had the oil that he was able to produce, and to the point where there weren't able to be smaller companies to compete with him. And so Standard Oil became this huge company, and there weren't other companies that were able to compete because he had a monopoly. Now, we might say, who cares? Okay, so things cost a little bit more money, no big deal. But we miss out on a few other things when we are dealing with big businesses instead of small businesses. And so in particular, one of the things we miss out on is that we don't know the owner like we do with a small business. So I have some local small businesses here where I actually know the owner. We go there all the time. We say hi to folks, places like Cowgirl Seahorse. There's a restaurant, There's a restaurant called Coco. There's a place I go to for my sandwiches called Sandwich House. There's another place I go to for dessert that I just love called Facility. And when you go to those places that you know the owner, there's that sense of community you get from doing that. And that's not quite the same when you go to a huge chain store where the employees may turn over more quickly. You may not know the faces. They may not know your faces. And so it's really lovely to have small businesses that can be a friendly face in your community, and that can help out the community. So hopefully you've got your storefront. You're one of those friendly faces in your community, and you've started to make your storefront. You have your sign. I was going to put pop. Actually, I'm going to put, I'm going to say my store is called Paz. I feel like using a Z today. So my other store was called Pets because it was a pet store. And now my store is all kinds of gadgets, and I'm going to call my store Paz today. So that's my sign for my store. Right now, what I'd love for you to do is to take the one last piece from this kit, which is your grass, okay? And now, by the way, just to mention, for those of you who don't have our craft kit that we sent home to you, you have maybe some paper. You can go ahead and cut out your paper, make your own signs like these. You can color them in. In some ways, if you're doing it with paper, you can be even more creative. You can make a rainbow at the top of it. You can do different colors, whatever your imagination is, you can have as your sign for your store. You'll just glue it or tape it to the top of your store. For those of you who came a little bit later, hopefully at this point, you've taken out this other background piece. And so you can peel and stick your store onto that background piece, because we're going to need to use this area over here now. So you have some grass. Again, you can make grass out of paper, pretty easy to do, color it green, make it into rectangular shape, and then you can just cut. So you have these cool, I don't know if you can see it here, but you have your pieces for those of you who do. So you can make your leaves of your grass. You can just cut those, but for those of you who have our kit, you've already got that. You're going to go ahead and peel the sticker off and put the grass wherever you want. In my case, I'm just going to use, there's two pieces. I'm only going to use one. On my other kit over here that I had done previously, I have them on both sides. So you're going to put your grass there. So once you have your grass, maybe we can hand it over back to John and see what John wants to tell us about.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, great.
Stacy was just talking about some of the problems with monopolies. And really, the biggest problem with a monopoly is there's no competition. And when you have no competition, you have one entity that controls the price completely, which means they can charge whatever they want in your favor, or more often in their favor. The other big problem is the lack of innovation. If I'm the only game in town, I don't really have to worry about coming up with new and innovative products. When there's a lot of competition, I always have to make sure that I'm giving the customers exactly what they need. And this is something that the government recognized and started taking some actions on. One of the first actions against big companies was back in 1911, when Standard Oil was broken up because it was deemed to be an illegal monopoly. So Stacy mentioned Rockefeller created this giant company called Standard Oil. To get a sense of how giant it was, when the government said it was a monopoly, they decided to break it up into smaller companies. And in the end, they broke it up to 34 different smaller companies. Now, that's amazing that they controlled all the products that then became 34 smaller companies. But that was really just the beginning. In the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was the first president who was really known to be an advocate and a protector of small businesses. He set up special agencies and rules that ensured that small businesses received a share of government contracts. Those efforts helped support small businesses and were the precursors to many modern day programs. One of those programs is when Congress created the Office of Advocacy and Small Business Administration in 1976. The Small Business Administration is the advocate in the government for small businesses. Big businesses have the money to make sure that their interests are always being considered when new laws are being passed. But who's looking out for the small businesses that don't have the money to have their representatives there pleading their case? Well, that's the Small Business Administration. Since then, hundreds of other organizations have popped up to help small businesses. Some of those are called SCORE and Small Businesses Solutions, but they're just two of hundreds. And I'm really grateful that those organizations exist, because I just launched my own small business. And I got to tell you, it's scary. some of the facts, and I'm a numbers person, I'm a facts person, and it's scary when I hear that 50% of small businesses fail within the first year, and 95% fail in the first 5. So a little bit of help from the government goes a long way. But in the end, I wanted to be my own boss, and that's the driver for a lot of small businesses. In fact, 55% of people that open businesses say they did it so that they could be their own boss and pursue what was their passion. And really, that's what it's all about. You know, we start a business to pursue a passion. And let's talk about something Stacy's passionate about, building her store businesses in her craft project. Back to you, Stacy.
Well, thank you, John. Yes, so we're here with this craft. Hopefully everybody's caught up. So now you're going to take your last packet that was in your kit, and you're going to empty it out. It did not have any label. It's the only one that did not have a label on it. So that's how you know you're using the right one. And now we're going to, you've got your sign, you've got your store. Now we're going to decorate around it. You're basically making what's in front of your store, what's surrounding your store. So you can think, what kind of community am I in? What kind of neighborhood is my business in? Is there a lot of, vegetation? Are there a lot of plants? Do people like to stroll down the street in front of my building, or is it in the city? And there's a lot of cars, and it's not a lot of trees and things like that. So now you get to decide that for your storefront. And that's, again, I can't overstate how important it is. For a small business, you have that sense of ownership. It's really something that you get to create, just like you're getting to create this playset today. And you get to create your name. You get to make all those decisions yourself. So you can see that for small businesses, the people who own them put a lot of love into these decisions they make for their small business, where things are going to be, what the name of their store is going to be, and so forth. So you've got your set. For those of you who may not have the kit, what you're going to want to do is possibly cut out some things from magazines. You can do that later. So you can cut out some cars from magazines and glue them on or tape them on. If the great part about what we're about to do is that these are the movable pieces, but you can still do that even if you're using paper at home, because you can take a piece of tape, and I'll demonstrate using this. So if you have a piece of tape, all you need to do is take the sticky part and put it back to back. And you've probably done this before in other crafts. Certainly your parents probably have done it, or whoever's helping you with the craft. You're going to do that. And then you can stick the tape on back of it, and then you can actually pick it up and move it around. So even if you don't have the benefit of the kit we sent and the Velcro, you can take some tape at home, attach it to those cars, let's say, that you've cut out from a magazine, and use the sticky tape that you've created and attach it to the back and move them around. So what we have some pieces, and if you're going to cut it out of a magazine, you can really cut out anything, a dog, somebody walking a dog, you can really, you have unlimited opportunity there. If you've got our kit, you've got some really cool pieces, cool foam pieces. So we've got 2 cars in the kit, different colors. You've got 2 fabric flowers, and you've got some people, okay? You've also got your street. So that's what was in the kit. You've got a strip of Velcro pieces. What you want to know if you've got our kit at home is that felt works just like the half of Velcro, the fuzzy part of the Velcro. So the piece of Velcro you have is the more stiff part. And when you attach that to the felt, you can pick it up and move it around as much as you want, and it'll stay, okay? So you want to think about which pieces you're going to be having in front of your storefront. So for every one of the pieces you want, you don't have to use all of them, because there's a lot of pieces here, and you may not want to embellish this much. But right now in front of you, if you've got our kit, you've got 8 pieces, 8 different foam pieces, and you've got 8 pieces of Velcro. So you're going to peel off the Velcro and just put it onto the back of your piece that you want. So once you do that, now that piece is something that can stick without any help onto your playset, but you can also remove it anytime you want. So you can stick it on, you can stick it on, and then you can remove it, okay? If, for example, on all of these 8 pieces that you have, let's say you're like, no, I want this thing to be there forever. I never want it to move. All of them are also stickers, okay? So all of them are also stickers. If you don't want them to be movable, you can just peel off the sticker and put it on, and then it will stay there forever. The other thing to keep in mind is that if there's a spot on this foam building that you did not put the grass, nothing
Oh, Stacy, it looked like you were frozen there just for a minute. Ah, and there you are, you're back again. But right now you seem to be muted. So while Stacy works on some of the technical problems, why don't I tell you a little bit more about some of the small businesses? But actually, I want to talk this time about some of the big businesses and where did they come from? You know, the innovative spirit that starts with small businesses has created many great changes in society today, but they began often with small family-owned businesses. I'm going to talk to you about 3 of them. First, Madam C.J. Walker started a company back in 1910. She sold beauty and hair supplies focused on the African-American community. 100 years later, Sephora is still selling Madam Walker's products under the name Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Culture. You may have also heard of this tiny little store called Amazon. Everywhere, it sells everything. I love it, especially in Christmas time. I do all my shopping there. Well, early on, Amazon had all the computers they needed to run out of the owner's garage, and they sold one thing, books. Everything was in the owner's garage. And they used so much power in the garage that every time the wife would try to run the hairdryer, the power fuses would blow. It's hard to imagine how big they've become, but they started in that small, innovative spirit. Now, beauty supplies and online shopping may not excite you, but I'm willing to bet candy does. Does anybody have a favorite candy? I know I do. For me, it's Snickers. Does anybody want to share one of their favorites? You can come off mute or put it in the chat if you want.
Cadbury milk chocolate.
Cadbury milk chocolate, love them. Well, you might have not have heard of it, but there's a little company called Mars, and they make a lot of the candies that you may love already. They make Snickers, Skittles, M&Ms, and hundreds of other chocolate bars. And they exist because back in 1913, Franklin and Ethel Mars started a small little candy store, and it grew. It's actually enormous right now. It's worth about $6 billion. So it may not be true for all, but many of the products that we have today started because of small businesses. They had an idea, they had a passion, and that grew into some of the great products we had today. So again, this isn't about bad business, big businesses are bad and small is good. This is about balance. And without that innovation of the small businesses, some of those big businesses we rely upon today might not exist. Well, let's see how Stacy's doing with some of the technical challenges. Stacy, are you back?
Let's see, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, yes.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you can hear me and I can hear you too. Now, actually, I think that was oddly good timing for my audio to and my video to conk out for a second, because hopefully you had a chance to then put the stickers, the Velcro onto your other stickers, which is really your last step on the craft. So what you can do, just for some examples, is I've got my car parked next to my street. I also have a little flower garden over here. If you prefer, what I did in this one is I had my flowers as like a flower pot in the window of my store. I also, in this one, I have my person. So these aren't Velcro, you have to stick to it as a sticker, but I have a person in the window of my store on this one. In this one, I have a bunch of friends hanging out together by the car. So you can do a lot of variety, but the coolest thing about it is that it's a play set. So what you can go ahead and do is just move your pieces. You're bored with playing it that way, or you have a story that you want to tell about it. You can go ahead and say, okay, and now my folks who are here, they're going into the store together. So you get to have your story about what's happening with your storefront. Okay, so to give you an idea of what you can do. You can also add pieces, the Velcro pieces that I showed you, you can buy those in a hardware store or a craft store. And so let's say you want to, if maybe you have some stickers at home, some foam stickers at home, you can do the same thing. Maybe you have birds, you can put some birds in the sky. Maybe you put some clouds and use the Velcro. Or if you have just ordinary stickers, you don't need the Velcro, you can just stick them right onto the set. Just know that you won't be able to move them on and off as easily. And for those of you who don't have our kit and you have paper at home that you can use, again, you can draw your own birds, your own clouds, anything you want to embellish this, as well as cutting them out from magazines and then either gluing them on or using tape to put them on. So thank you, John. John's been very insightful about history of small businesses and all that. I wanted to add something as well. Is really, I want to talk about the value that I find in small businesses. And really, to me, it's about the personalized service that they can provide. Usually at a small business, you get that personalized care. And a lot of people shop at small businesses for that reason. So people, probably about half of the people, like 45%, shop at small businesses because they want higher quality items that are not mass produced, and they want that personalized service that they can get. As a matter of fact, in our research, 77% of consumers are actually willing to pay more in order to get that excellent customer service. So that's something you can get at a small business that you can't necessarily get at a larger business, not as easily. You might be able to call Amazon customer service and be put on hold for a long time, whereas a small business, you may be able to talk to the owner yourself and ask them the questions you have. Other thing I just wanted to, another few things I just wanted to mention is that, you know, who are our small business owners? And it might surprise you to know that actually, although immigrants only represent about 14% of the population in the United States, they actually represent about 25% of small business owners. So that's perhaps not a number you would have expected, that 1 in 4 small business owner is an immigrant to the country. Other thing I thought I would mention is that in particular, millennials and Generation Z, and that may be some of the folks on there right now on this call, are 188% more likely to create a small business compared to older generation like the baby boomers. So it's usually small businesses, you know, it's a hard thing to do. It takes a lot of energy. And sometimes that ends up that younger people are the ones who end up starting small businesses. So hopefully at this point you've got your stickers and you've made your craft the way you want it. You have your sign. By the way, you can also do cool things like for your flowers, for example, you can actually put your flowers. Let's see, can you see me doing this? You can put your flowers right, if you use a sticker, you can put your flowers right on your sign. So that's another thing you can do. I'm guessing some of you might have already thought to do that. So you've got a lot of creativity here. And I think there's only a few things left that we wanted to say about small businesses. But in the meantime, you can play around, finish up your craft. And if you have any questions about the craft, please do make sure you get them in the chat to me. Okay, John, did you have some more things you wanted to say about maybe where businesses come from? Particularly some of the big businesses that you were talking about?
Thank you, Stacy. We actually covered that during the technical.
I'm so sorry. That was when I was out.
That's you were focused on making sure that we were able to proceed forward. So the more important focus. But would you or I like to talk about what we can do to help these small businesses?
Well, I think that is an excellent point. John, do you want to take that on and let folks know?
I'd love to. So we hopefully through this event, first, everybody had a lot of fun with the craft. It looked like a lot of fun. I didn't get to do it while trying to be part of the meeting, so I'm kind of a little disappointed at that. I'll have to try to do it later, but I hope everybody had a great time. And I hope everybody also understands some of the reasons why we need to help small businesses and give them some support. One last little stat, I did tell you I'm a numbers person. If a small business lost revenue for 2 months, they would have to supplement that by cutting costs and maybe reducing staff. That's how tight some of these small businesses are. And especially during coronavirus, small businesses have all been hurt in many different ways. So we want to help them. And here's a few ways you can do it. First, buy locally. If you have the chance to go to a big chain supermarket or a small, fruit and vegetable stand, go to the small stand, buy from that small business owner. Second, if there's a small business you love, give them a great review. Social media is extremely powerful to small businesses, and a good review can go a long way. Also, if you have a business you love, refer your friends and families. Every little bit helps, and a new customer goes a long way. And the biggest thing is commit to one small business friendly thing each week. From those different ideas, one small thing each week, they build up and they can be an enormous value to the small businesses you're trying to help. Now, one last thing, we will be sending out an infographic. I think Stacy or Tyler will be talking about that. Obviously, share this. We want more people to understand the importance of small businesses and how we can help them. And that infographic is a great way to summarize everything we've spoken about and share some of these ideas with your friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, John, for that summary. And yes, we will be sending out an infographic with a video recording of the event. So the infographic will show you a lot of the content that we discussed today. You can recap it. You can share that with other families as well. And we encourage you to share it widely because this is important information. So if we have time, it would be great if there's anybody who has questions either about the craft, questions or comments about the craft, or questions or comments about small businesses. Anybody who just wants to give us their insight, either in chat or you can unmute yourself.
And I'd also like to see some of the crafts.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. John, you may have to unhide.
Yep, I'm going to remove the spotlight so that everybody can see everybody. Once I figure out how to do that for myself.
And in the meantime, if anybody has any questions about the craft or about small business, anything you folks want to let us know, we're here. But we would love to see your crafts once John can get us all on view.
Well, hopefully everybody is seeing everybody now. Or is that just on mine?
Oh, I can see everybody in, yeah, so let's see. Let's see. You might, yeah. You might still be pinned, but I can see everybody. Oh, here are the crafts. Wait, let's see those again. Let's see those crafts. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
Everybody can see those. Those are great. I'll show mine too. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, folks. They look great. I hope you had fun doing the craft. I see folks. I love it. And there's Anna's shop. And
You always unplug Stacy, unpin Stacy.
Lincoln's, and there's, I can't see the names on some of them. Some of them you're still working on them. What's that one? Oh, I just can't see it because they're so small on my screen, but what are these are great. I love them. Fantastic.
So I'm Stacy, what do you think? I'm going to spotlight a few just so that they can
I think that's
go up a little bigger. So
That's
Anna
great.
and Lincoln, you're spotlighted right now.
There you
I see
go.
Lincoln's. That looks great. Anna, do you want to share yours? Oh, those are beautiful.
And I like the flowers on top of the window. That's great. Nicely done. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to shift to Renee. Renee, you were showing us yours. Can you show it to us again?
Let's see. Oh,
Renee, can you share us yours again?
I think that's Micah. Hi, how you doing, Mika? How are you? Okay. Well, you're having fun with the stickers making your sign, so that's good too.
All right, we're going to change to a different spotlight. So,
Here we
Miko
go.
Miko and Coco Miko, can you share us with your crafts?
Oh, there we go. Reptile. I know that's,
I
right?
expected there might be a reptile house in there somewhere.
That's fantastic. Okay, great. And then what does this one say? It's two initials, which I can't, TA, Ta. I think that's what it is. That's great. I love it. I love the sideways car. So there's a driveway on the side of the business. That's very smart. That's great. I know somebody who had a small business and they had exactly that. They had the driveway on the side of it. That's fantastic. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. I love it. I love it.
That is fantastic.
The sign up there, that's great. And I love it with the car on the bottom, just right there. And then there's lots of people hanging out on the bottom too. So that's nicely done. I like that. Thank you. 2 thumbs up. Well, you can't see my 2 thumbs up because I'm not on the screen right now, but I'm showing you 2 thumbs up for that. Well, that's fantastic. I love all the crafts everybody made. Of course, we'd love to see more. Feel free to send us pictures of your crafts. John, is there anything else we wanted to say, or shall we throw it back to Tyler?
Just a thank you to everybody. It was so much fun to do this. I'm so glad you could all join.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Anastasia, for the craft, and John for your expertise. As it was mentioned before, we will be sending out a follow-up email that will have the infographic, the recording of the event, and it will also have materials for further reading and learning, and a brief survey of what you thought of the event. If you could please take the time to respond, we would appreciate your feedback. It is important to us. And then continue to stay involved and join us for other events that we do. We don't only do celebrations for kids, we have other programs for adults as well. And we post those on our website and our social media. And again, thank you all for coming and joining us today for this craft.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.